So, Unit 3, Day 4. Today we're going to talk about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Now, y'all have heard about parallel lines before, haven't you? Right? Parallel lines never cross each other, right? They never intersect. Intersect means the same thing as cross. And the main thing we need to know for Algebra 1 purposes about parallel lines is they have the same slope. You might want to highlight that if you have a highlighter, okay? That's the most important thing you need to know for this class about parallel lines is that they have the same slope. Now, when you get to geometry, you're going to learn a lot more things about parallel lines. A whole lot of things about parallel lines. But for Algebra 1 purposes, the main thing you need to remember is that parallel lines have the same slope. That's why they never cross, because they start at different places on the y-axis, and they're rising and running the same amount. That sounds funny. Rising and running. They're rising and running the same amount in the same direction, so they're never going to cross each other. All right. Then there's two other kinds of lines. Well, another kind of set of lines. And those are perpendicular lines. I got y'all froze still. Perpendicular lines, they do cross each other. Okay? But that's not special. All lines are going to cross each other except for parallel lines. All right? All sets of lines are going to cross each other unless they're parallel. But perpendicular lines, when they cross, they form a 90-degree angle. Yes, also known as a right angle. Right? So when they cross, they do it at a 90-degree angle. Now, their slopes are what we call opposite reciprocals. Now, some people call them opposite reciprocals. Some people call them negative reciprocals. Old school ways to call them negative reciprocals. I like to call them opposite reciprocals better because it just means you flip it. Reciprocal means you flip it, right? Flip the fraction upside down. Opposite means you change the sign. Okay, so you're going to take the previous slope, you're going to flip it and change the sign. Okay, so that's what you need to know about the slopes about perpendicular lines. They have opposite reciprocal slopes. Flip it and change the sign. So let's just talk about what a negative reciprocal or opposite reciprocal is. Okay, so like I said, if you have a fraction, you're going to flip it and change the sign. You got to do both. Not one or the other. You flip it and change the sign. So negative 5/3, what do you think the opposite reciprocal is going to be? Not negative. Flip it and change the sign. Positive 3/5. That 3 looks goofy. Positive 3/5. You flip the fraction and change the sign. What about if you have a whole number? Yeah, you put it over 1, and then you flip it and change the sign, which would be -1/8. Does that make sense how we got both of those? Flip it and change the sign. If it's a whole number, put it over 1. All right. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is they're going to give us 2 line segments with 2 endpoints on the line segments. And we have to determine if these slopes are parallel lines, if they're perpendicular lines, or if they're neither one. So we got 2 points on the line, 2 endpoints of a segment basically. And we have to determine if these lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither one, if they just intersect in the drawing. How do you think we could tell that? I'll give you nope, I ain't graphing today. And plus graphing couldn't tell us because it could look parallel and not be parallel. So with grouping, well, what did I just learn? I told you to highlight about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. You look at their slopes, right? Right? Do I have enough information about these lines to get their slopes? Yeah, you do that slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Very, very good. So that's what we're going to use. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to have to do it for each line. Or each line segment, I should say. And then after I get both slopes, I can compare them. right? Well, most of y'all did pretty good on your quiz last week, so I'm not going to make y'all write that formula every time if that's okay with y'all. You got to get it right. All right? You got to get it right. So, yeah, let's do AB. So that means I'm only looking at the top 2 points, okay? M equals, what's Y2 for the points A for segment AB? 6 minus, it's not let me write a minus sign. 6 minus 3, I'm trying to write it, over, very good. And then I simplify. What's 6 minus 3? 3 over 2 plus 2 is 4. Will that simplify? No more. Okay, so 3/4 is the slope for segment AB. Well, if I get 3/4 for segment CD, then they're parallel, aren't they? Okay. So for CD, very good. So Y2 minus Y1, 3 minus 0 over 3 minus, I do double negatives and fix them. Because if not, I mess up my signs. 3 plus 1 is, do they have the same slope? So what do I say about those 2 line segments? They are parallel. They are parallel because they have the same slope. Exact same slope means they're parallel. Any questions about that one? All right. All right. So if they have the same slope, they're parallel. All right. Here's another set of 2 lines. We want to tell if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither one. So what do we have to do? We have to find their slope. So I'm doing AB first. Label my work. It makes it easier. 6 minus 8. 2 minus -1. Wait a sec. Yeah, that's 2 plus 1. Chill. What's 6 minus 8? Enthusiasm on this rainy Monday morning. I love it. Over 3. Will that simplify anymore? So the slope of AB is -2/3. Good job. All right, so now we're going to do CD. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So what's Y2? Minus over minus. What's 3 minus 0? Over. All right. Are they the same? No. Are they opposite reciprocals of each other? If I flip this and change the sign, I get positive 3 over 2, not 3 over 4, right? So what would you say about these? Neither one. They just cross each other. No, Neither. They cross each other, but they're not perpendicular, right? They're just 2 random lines across each other. All lines are going to eventually cross each other except for parallels. All right, one more together, then you guys are trying one. Possibly it's perpendicular because we haven't had one yet, but I don't remember. So AB, what's Y2? Minus, oh yeah, sorry. All right, hey, sugar, it keeps erasing. 4 minus 2 over 5 minus 0, right? What's 4 minus 2? 2 over 5. And that is simplified. So if your slope isn't simplified, you got to make sure you simplify it. So for CD, what's Y2? Over, what's 3 minus 8? No, it's not. Over 2. Are those the same? Are they opposite reciprocals? Yes. So these lines are what? Perpendicular. Y'all see how those are opposite reciprocal? I was trying to write perpendicular and say reciprocal at the same time. Do y'all see how those are opposite reciprocals? If I take this and flip it and change the sign, I get -5/2. Okay, y'all try. Oh, I just gave you one. Poo-poo. I'll try that one. Parallel, perpendicular, and either. Do the slopes. Sugar. Joseph. He's happy this morning. Right? Yeah, he's right? What is now what Cocoa Colors?
I had waffles.
Maple syrup. Lego magic.
I'm telling you, we don't have to review. Because if this is like right over there, they're coming and taking the quiz, and I think some of you thought, oh, she'll put us another day. No. All right, so what's the back here? Okay, so is it 1 and -21 or -1 and 21? -1 and 21. Why does the smaller number have to be negative? Because the sum is positive. Be careful. All right, -1 and 21, one more step. -3 and 7. Those are the it work, yeah? Right, tell me what to do next. Right, tell me what to do. 3, next plus 7, and then don't forget equals 0. All right, so this is what we have.
Oh, sorry, I'm messing y'all up.
So x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 7 equals 0. What do we do now? Add 3 to both sides. X equals 3. Next equation. X equals. You feel better now? Do I feel good now? All right, let's go ahead and clear everything off of our desk except for the calculator. All you need.
Watch your signs. That's the most common mistake. People making a little error with their signs. All right, if you think you have an answer, and your neighbor thinks they have an answer, compare your answer.
First thing you're going to do when you get your quiz, put your name on it.
I did. I got the right.
She's got water. It's like, say, are you gonna need some water? Okay. How do I find the slope of line segment AB? 6 minus 7 on top. Over, my pen is only barely writing. Sugar is my word, y'all. Sugar is my word. Okay, over what? -2 minus -4. I will. So on top I get -1 over -2 plus 4 is 2. So y'all get -1/2 for the first slope? All right, what's y2 in CD? 3 minus -2 over minus 2. That's 3 plus 2, right? 5 over -10. Does that reduce to what? -1/2. So what's up with our slopes? They're the same. So the lines are parallel. Raise your hand if you got that they were the same and parallel. Any questions? She's raising high. Good job. So did y'all see how that y'all needed to reduce that? Yeah. Sometimes you might have to reduce one of them or even both of them, okay? But they should all reduce down to the same thing. All right? Great job. All right. So now we're going to compare lines a different way. This time we're going to be given their equations. To me, this is easier. Okay? To me, this is easier. Because look at this example D here. What form of an equation of a line is this? Slope intercept. And what about this one? They're both already in slope intercept form. Now, if it's in slope intercept form, can I look at it and tell what the slope is? Yes. If it's in slope intercept form. It might not always be in slope intercept form, and then we can fix that. All right. So what's the slope in the first line? 4/5, right? You just look at it and tell what's in the M spot. Sugar, Mrs. Write your slope. And what's my slope in my second line? Compare those. Yeah, if I flip 4 over 5 and change the sign, they're going to be opposite reciprocals. Y'all agree? So these are perpendicular. Yeah, that's why these are my favorite. Then you got to fix it. And we know how to do that. We know how to do that. Okay. On this one. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2 and y equals 1/3 x. I kind of want my red pen back. It pops a little bit more. Hang on. I want it fat again, though. Fat red line. There you go. Okay. So what's the slope in the first line? What's the slope in the first line? Negative 1/3. What's the slope in my second line? Positive 1/3. Are those the same? One line's going up from left to right, and the other one's going down from left to right. This one's going down, this one's going up, right? Right? Are they the same? No. Are they opposite reciprocals? If I take this and flip it and change the sign, I get positive 3 over 1, which is positive 3. Right? So they're not opposite reciprocals. So what are these? Neither one. Yeah, because these are just going to be 2 lines that cross each other. Boring. Okay? So, y'all, the same means exactly the same. Same number, same sign. All right? Opposite reciprocal, you got to not just change the sign, but flip it and change the sign. All right? So these are neither one. They're just opposite, not opposite reciprocals. Y'all see the difference? All right. Scrolling. Scrolling. All right. Oh, this one's easy. Jeez, my goodness. What's the slope on the first one here? -2. What's the slope on the second one? -2. What kind of lines are these? These are parallel. Exactly the same slope. Everybody okay with that? Slope intercept form. Life is easy. You look in the M spot, and that's your M. Woohoo.
M spot? MX plus B.
M and an X and a B. Yeah. It's all related.
I was writing out my equation.
Okay, now look at G here. Oh,
So you gotta get them in MX plus B.
that's what I gotta do. I gotta make it look like y equals mx plus b. So I'm gonna give you a second, let you copy down the first one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
X plus 6y equals 30. So I can't even tell what that slope is because it's not in slope intercept form. So I need to change it up to where it looks, quit scrolling. So it looks like y equals mx plus b. That means I gotta get that y by itself, right? So how on G do I get the first equation's y by itself? Subtract 1x on both sides. Very good. So that's going to get me 6y equals, y'all, I promise it's going to help you if you write -1x and not just -x, plus 30. Is everybody okay with that? Hang on, Justin. Make sure everybody's okay. It's been a minute. Right? Y'all had a little extra weekend. Extra long weekend. Is everybody okay with that negative 1x plus 30 right there? Not like terms. And I promise you putting that 1 there is going to help because we're about to divide all of our terms by 6. Okay. So that's why we do that. So divide all your terms by 6. Some of y'all did that incorrectly on your quiz last week. So make sure you do all 3 terms. So y equals what? Not minus, plus 5. Y equals negative 16x plus 5. And what's the slope of that line then? Our slope is negative 1/6, just for comparison's sake. So is everybody okay with how we got the first one in slope intercept? Who's whistling? Don't do that. Next door's taking a quiz. We're not going to be disruptive. All right, now what? Divide everything by 3. Divide everything with all your terms by 3. Right? All right, so y equals, then we simplify. What's 18 over 3 simplify? 6x, and what's 6 over 3? Yeah, it's going to be minus 2. Is that one in slope-intercept form? What's the slope? 6. So compare those slopes. We got negative 1/6 and positive 6. They are opposite reciprocals, because if I take this and flip it and change the sign, I get 6 over 1, which is the same thing as 6, right? So perpendicular. Very good. So if they are not in slope-intercept form, that is your first job. Get it in slope-intercept form, and then you can look at your slopes. Is that good? Okay. Look at H. 3x minus y equals 2, and 12x minus y equals 4. 3x minus y equals 2, and 12x minus 4y equals 4. I think I said that wrong the first time. So 3x minus y equals 2. How do we get that y by itself? Subtract 3x. Very good. So negative y equals negative 3x plus 2. Now, how do I get just y by itself? It still has a negative. Divide all my terms by negative 1, which basically changes all their signs, right? So simplify that for me. Y equals what?
3x minus 2.
3x minus 2. Is everybody okay with how I got y equals 3x minus 2? What's the slope?
That's 3.
Slope is 3. Is everybody okay with got m is 3? All right, the second equation says 12x minus 4y equals 4. How do we get y by itself on that one? Nope. Subtract 12x. Good. It's in standard form to start with, isn't it? So negative 4y equals negative 12x plus 4. Now what? Divide all my terms by negative 4. And then simplify. What is negative 12 over negative 4 reduced to? Positive 3. Ooh, stop that. So 3x. And what's 4 divided by negative 4? So minus 1. Y equals 3x minus 1. Is everybody okay with how we got there? What's the slope of that line? 3. So what about the lines? They are parallel. Exactly the same.
Yes, ma'am.
We good? Y'all, it's as hard as it gets. It's when both of them are not in slope-intercept form for this part.
That's pretty hard.
It's not terrible. Okay. Now, Miss Isbell told y'all last week to memorize what kind of lines are x equals a number and y equals a number, right? Yeah. Did y'all memorize it, or did you just memorize it for the quiz and you forgot it? Okay, so what kind of line is this? Horizontal. Crosses the y-axis, right? Horizontal. What's the slope of a horizontal line? What's the slope? We're looking about parallel and perpendicular. We need the slopes. M is 0, right? What kind of line is x equals negative 1? Vertical. What's the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. Where is a horizontal and a vertical line going to be parallel to each other?
No, they're going to be.
They're going to be what? They are going to be perpendicular. Very good. Think about the x and the y axis. That's a horizontal and a vertical, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perpendicular. I think I spelled that right. Yeah. So if they're both horizontal, they would be parallel, or both vertical, they'd be parallel, correct? Right? If they're both horizontal or both vertical, they'd be parallel, but one of each are perpendicular. Does that make sense? Okay. I want you guys to try that one. Oh, you only have to change one of them. Poop. I'll try that. Get them in slope-intercept form and compare their slopes, please. All right, y'all are sitting there looking at each other, so go ahead and check with each other.
Because neither.
Could be neither. Could be parallel, could be perpendicular.
It would have to be negative on it. Since they're both positive. Because it has to be opposite reciprocal.
No, it shouldn't be that.
Okay, y'all help me out. Is the first equation in slope-intercept form? No. How do I get it to look like y equals mx plus b? Subtract 5x on both sides. So then I get negative y equals what? Plus 4. And then what do? I don't subtract negative 1. Divide everything by negative 1, which changes all the signs, right? So y equals what? 5x minus 4. So what's the slope of this line? This one's 5. Is the second one in slope-intercept form? Yeah, what's the slope of the second line? 1/5. Are those the same? Are they opposite reciprocals? No, they're reciprocals, but not opposite reciprocals, correct? So are they perpendicular? So what do we better say? I love how you speak like a Yankee. Neither. I'm just kidding. Raise your hand if you got neither or neither. Okay, good job. Do y'all see how it is? Did I spell it wrong? Okay. I wonder that every time I write. I before E except for C, but that one breaks the rules, right? Okay. So do y'all raise your hand if you got 5 and negative 1, or 5 and 1/5 and got neither one or neither one. No. Sound all proper saying that. Do we understand the difference? We good? We good? Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is they're gonna give us, this is a little complicated. We're talking about 2 different lines, right? We got parallel lines and perpendicular lines. We're talking about 2 separate lines, correct? Okay. We want an equation of a line that goes through this point, but it's parallel to this line. Okay. We want our line to go through this point. We want the equation line that goes through this point that is parallel to this line. So the second line, what do I need from it? I need the slope, and that's all I need. That's all I need from it. Okay? So I'm going to take this slope, and since it's parallel to it, what is my slope going to be? The same thing, right? So whatever their slope is, I'm going to use that same slope since I'm parallel and write an equation with this point. Okay? And we learned how to do that last week, right?
So wait, it's gonna be like 7 equals
Yes.
4,
Yes.
-4, -2.
Yes, plus B. And we'll find B. Exactly. Okay? So, is this one in slope-intercept form? Because all I need from this one is the slope.
Yes.
Yes. Now, if this one's not in slope-intercept form, that's job number 1. Okay? But this one's in slope-intercept form for us, so what's that slope?
-4.
-4. So, I want my slope over here to also be -4. But I'm going to go through the point -2, 7. And I'm going to plug it into y equals mx plus b and get my b. Y'all with me? So I'm going to use that point now, -2, 7. What is my y value of that point? 7 equals, what's my m? -4. What's my x? -2 plus b. And then I multiply. What's -2 times -4? Positive 8. 7 equals 8 plus b. Now, how do I solve for b? How do I do that? Subtract 8 on both sides. What's 7 minus 8? -1 equals b. I've got m and I've got b. What's my equation? -4x minus 1. And then double check. Your equation should have the same slope. And they do.
So the B doesn't matter as long as the slope.
Yes. Well, the b matters in your equation, but when you're checking it, you're just checking slopes.
Wait, what are we solving for though? If they gave you the answer in the.
You were writing the equation of the line.
That's all they want you
Mhm.
to write that question.
They wanted the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that went through this point that was parallel to this line. So we had to get the slope from here because they're going to be the same, and then plug in our point into y equals mx plus b to get our y-intercept, and then we would have m and b to write our equation. Okay, that's it. All right, this one asked me for something different. This one wants us to go through the point 4, 3 and be perpendicular to the line y equals 2x minus 4. Now, what do I need from this equation?
The slope.
The slope. What's their slope?
2.
Their slope is 2. Y'all with me? But I want to be perpendicular to that line. So what does my slope need to be?
-1.
Flip it and change the sign, right? How do you flip a whole number? Put it over 1. Flip it and change the sign. My slope needs to be a -1/2. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Okay. And now I'm going to use the point 4, 3 and plug it into y equals mx plus b and get my b. Y'all with me? That's it. So if it's parallel, I'll keep the same slope of whatever they have over here. If it's perpendicular, I'll flip it and change the sign. That's it. So you just got to read your directions. So what goes in for y? 3. What goes in for m? -1/2. What goes in for x? 4 plus b. Now we multiply. What's a -1/2 times 4? -2. 3 equals -2. Gosh, my pen. Plus b. Now how do I solve for b? What's 3 plus 2? 5. I've got m and b. What's my equation then? Very good. And then you double check and make sure your slopes are opposite reciprocals. And they are. Seriously, as hard as it gets. Well, except for when this is not in slope-intercept form to start with. Yeah, except for problems like this. Yeah. You know. Well, you'd rather me do them in class than to just show them up on a test, right? Yeah. Yeah. That way you can't say, Miss Emma didn't show me that. Yes, I did. All right, this time we want an equation of a line that goes through the point -5, 1. And we want our line to be perpendicular to the line 5x plus 3y equals -21. Do I know the slope of this line yet? No, I got to get it to look like y equals mx plus b so I can figure out the slope. Then I can flip it and change the sign to get my slope, right? This little stuttering game is on strong today. Thank you, ham jeans. Okay, get it from my daddy's side of the family. They all stutter, or we all stutter, I should say. All right, so what do I do to get look like slope-intercept form? Subtract my 5x, good. It's in standard form, so pretty much the same steps as always. So 3y equals -5x minus 21. Now what? Divide all my terms by 3 and simplify. So y equals -5/3x minus 7. Y'all agree? So what's their slope? -5/3. I want to be perpendicular, so I flip it and change the sign and get what? +3/5. So is everybody okay with why my slope's going to be +3/5? Okay, so now I plug in -5, 1 to y equals mx plus b with my new slope. So what goes in for y? What goes in for m? What goes in for x? -5 plus b. All right, top times big divided by bottom, or you can cancel, cross cancel, is what? So 1 equals -3 plus b. Now what? Y'all are getting so much better with fractions. I'm so proud of you guys. 1 plus 3 is what? Well, at least y'all didn't moan when I had one up there, right? Right. You might have did it internally, but at least you didn't like let the whole class go. So now we got m and b. What's our equation? Y equals 3/5x plus 4. And then double check from slope-intercept form. We flipped it and changed the sign to perpendicular. All right. Just redirect. And y'all, this is as hard as it gets. And that was quite a bit of work, right? Had to work over here a little bit, flip, change sign, go over there and work a little bit, right? So just make sure if it's parallel, you're wanting the same exact slope. Perpendicular, you flip it and change the sign. Okay? All right. Let's do one more together. And then you guys are going to try some, and then we'll do our practice. Okay? So about 3-ish more examples, if that's okay with you guys. All right, this time we want the equation of a line that goes through the point 3, 1, and we want to be parallel to the line x minus 3y equals 9. X minus 3y equals 9. Do I know their slope yet? All right, so we got to do what? Subtract x, yep. So -3y, whoops, equals negative, oops, what the heck, 1x plus 9. Now what? Divide everything by -3, and then we'll simplify. So y equals what? 1/3 x. What's +9 divided by -3? -3. Do y'all see where there's like a lot of little places you can make a mistake with signs and everything else on that? Yeah, be really careful, okay? Don't get in a hurry. Take your time. So their slope is 1/3, right? And we want to be parallel to that line. So what does our slope need to be? Our slope is also going to be 1/3. Parallel means keep it the same. Okay? Everybody good there? Now what do we need to do?
Put it in y equals mx plus b and so.
That's right. Put it into y equals mx plus b to get our b. What goes in for y?
-1.
What goes in for m?
1/3.
What's x? Plus b. God, what is up with my pen? What's 1/3 times 3? Very good. So -1 equals 1 plus b. How do I solve for b? Subtract 1. What's -1? What's -1 minus 1? So -2 equals b. There's m. There's b. What's the equation? All right. Do my slopes, are they the same? Yep. So any questions about what we're doing there?
No.
All right. I want you guys to try those. One's parallel, one's perpendicular. One's in slope intercept form already and one's not.
That's cool.
I know. Let me see what your practice is going to do about that. I'm just curious. Your practice is about half and half. Half of them already in slope intercept form, half are not.
That's okay.
Yeah. Let me know if y'all get stuck.
It's fine. Top comes big divided by the bottom.
Yep. right, check them with the neighbor if you're done with those. Fuzz in my nose.
The second one I got wrong, negative plus x plus negative 5 seconds x minus
We're all done. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because you just had to do it right now. Right now, you have to do it.
It was on the list, so I just got it.
I have scissors in my purse because when we go to a restaurant with the boys, you know how like the straw is like always that tall no matter what? Yeah, and when they order like a kid's size drink, it goes so short and has this big old long straw sticking out. So I was like, yeah, I cut it down. Yeah, so I keep like a little pair of like school size scissors. Because there is school scissors in yeah. Are you not gonna be a second?
It's like page entry for each one.
15, because you're getting what you do. No. Yeah, whatever's with the variable, that's what you're gonna be. All right, y'all help me do this. Number 1, is that equation in slope-intercept form? No, it needs to look like y equals mx plus b. So how do I make it look like y equals mx plus b? What do I do specifically? Subtract 5x. Sure. Negative 5x plus 10. Divide everything by 2 and simplify. Plus 5. So what's the slope of their line? Negative 5 over 2. And we're going to be parallel. So what is our slope going to be? Negative 5 over 2. Again, because parallel lines have the same slope, right? What? Okay, sorry. Y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in x, y, and m to get our b. What goes in for y? What goes? I'm just going to let y'all talk and I'll shut up. Times negative 6. I'm trying to write it. My pen won't write. Plus b. What's negative 5 over 2 times negative 6? So 7 equals positive 15 plus b. And what do I get? Did y'all get that? So y equals negative 5 over 2x minus 8. Raise your hand if you got that for your equation for number 1. Are there any questions on number 1? So that one was a little bit more work because that first equation was not in slope-intercept form. Is everybody okay with that? The second one should go a little bit quicker because the second equation is in slope-intercept form, isn't it? Yeah, so what's their slope? 3 over 4. So if their slope is 3 over 4, whoops. Y'all agree? Perpendicular and need to flip it and change the sign, negative 4 over 3. Is everybody okay with that? I don't know what this crap is over here. Go away. So y equals mx plus b. What is y?
Negative 3
What's m?
equals negative 4 over 3 times 3 plus b. And then you're going to get negative 4.
Now what? So 1 equals b. So what's my equation? Somebody besides Joseph, tell me the equation.
Y equals negative 4/3 plus 1.
Don't forget your x. All right. Hey, y'all, that's the question. Y'all, I've seen this before. I've taught algebra 1 a long time. If you're writing the equation of a line and you don't put that x here, that is wrong. Okay? For your equation of a line, you got to have that x there, okay? Got it? Raise your hand if you got that equation. Yes. Okay. Raise your hand if you're ready for practice. All right, that's the end of notes for today. Thank you. Hang on, I'm trying to close notes. There it is.